What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And obviously today we're talking about something very frustrating. I've been, I think, going through a little bit of the stages of grief. I cover this on Ginger Prime. Today we're talking about the death of Anthem, and I wanted to bring it up here on Work to Game, talk to Chris about it, because we've covered Anthem here on this channel before I shifted that over to my personal channel, Ginger Prime. Now, that's going to be the subject of today's video, but on a positive note, thank you guys so much for your support, helping us get to Twitch partner. One of the things that Chris is doing, by the way, if you guys aren't aware, we're kind of raising money to get lunar whales and give those away to you guys. So the different ad revenue that happens, like, because Twitch, we get ad revenue. I don't know how the split works. We're going to be using that money
They break it down for us
to purchase lunar whales, and we're going to be giving those away. So I wanted to start with at least something sweet before we talk about something that's just deeply troubling and frustrating to me. And I deserve all the I told you so's. Like, I'm not sitting here like, ignorant and whatnot. But Anthem has officially next been canceled. This is not surprising news. So this isn't something like, I'm not like, what? But I wanted to sit down and talk with Chris about it, kind of get our thoughts together, and process it, because I really enjoyed the game despite its flaws. And that's probably a flaw within myself as a gamer. Chris was always like saying, let me know when it's ready. And
never bought it.
Yeah, you never did. And so, Chris, I can tell you now, it's not ready, and it never will be. So, congratulations, your long play on the game. Obviously saved you some money.
Like $5. It got way low.
It's actually free now as a part of Game
Oh,
Pass.
okay. Well, it saved me free.
Saved you free.
Put that towards my lunar whale.
Put it towards that lunar whale. So Chris, today, just to catch you guys up to speed, EA, they basically were working on it for the last 2 years. They stopped all development. They said the current servers are still going to remain, but this is, if nothing else, like, the reason you might be currently playing or checking out the game is because you hear about, like, there might be a future. There is no future for this franchise. And I have to say, we know that EA and BioWare are working on new games, and we also know that they're rehashing their classics. And I even put out a video talking about Diablo 2 and the fact that that's coming back, that it's like when sometimes these companies maybe upset gamers enough that they kind of go into the vault to kind of bring back their hits. And so Anthem and Andromeda, like, from BioWare, now it's
remember
like,
that time you liked me?
Remember that? Yeah, exactly. Remember that time I brought you flowers?
That was so funny. That was so good.
There you go. So that feels like what some of these companies are doing. So at the core of it, we know they're working on a new Mass Effect. We know they're working on a new Dragon Age. Is this something that you can trust? Like, you were always skeptical. You were always on the fence. So I think I want to give you the floor to kind of vent your thoughts and how you're taking this news.
I don't win because I was right. I would have preferred to be wrong. My concern with it is the same concern I have when we see any game that starts to be touted either by the developers, the marketing team, or the fans. If any of those three start to come out and say this is going to be the game to end all games, I'm immediately nervous. Anytime there starts to be a perception that this is going to be it, I'm going to quit every other game I'm playing. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to need a shooter. I'm not going to need a racing game. I'm not going to need an MMO. I'm not going to need phone games. I'm not going to need anything. It's going to be the game to end all games. We saw it with No Man's Sky. Cyberpunk experienced it slightly. It seems to be on its way up. We saw it with Final Fantasy 1.0. And so, are there times that it turns around? Yes. But by and large, typically, when the plane's on fire, it doesn't land smoothly. It happens, but we still, how many commercial airline pilots can you name besides Sully and maybe a family member? That there's the one guy who landed a plane on the Hudson. There's the one guy. And so this was just another time of a game that was struggling, that it turns out that's, these companies have to make money.
Yeah.
And a game that's not doing well, it's easier to go invest in a new IP and get people on board than try to get people back into a game that they already feel burned by at this point repeatedly. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just once that you've called me up and been disappointed in Anthem. It wasn't just once that you felt like there was potential there and it didn't look like it was shaping out. It's been time after time of just I don't think this is it. So I would say, from somebody from the outside, the whole I was right, you were wrong, that is not the answer here. This was a loss for gaming. Mm-hmm. More games are better. More developers in the pie are better. We as gamers win when there's competition, when there's innovation, when there's a lot of ideas on the table, and this is disappointing news.
So one of the things that Christian Daly kind of highlighted in his note was he talked about how 2020 was a difficult year, and
Sure.
I think we all can agree with that. The thing that with me that really kind of like ticked a little bit of the anger, side of my personality that like everybody has. I think to that Pixar movie where we all have like the different like emotional drivers or whatever. Fantastic movie. Anyway, but that kind of just set him off. Was like Anthem's problems weren't 2020. They're not 2020 related.
They weren't. Yeah.
And it's like I just think that just kind of game development's hard. Yes. 2020 sucked. Yes. Probably presented some challenges, but the core of it is that what they were working towards was essentially either in conflict to their bigger goals and visions. And Anthem was an easy sacrifice because while it sold incredibly well, like when you go look at the numbers, like they more than made up that, kind of that swindle. Can we say that officially now? It was a swindle. It was a bait and switch. They sold Anthem.
I think a bait and switch implies intent. Do you believe there was intent?
I have to sit here and think there was, namely because like they sold it off the trailer. Like that E3 2017 trailer.
10-year franchise, gonna be amazing. Let's fly some suits.
Yeah, okay, and then it's like, and how they structured its thing, and then it's like, okay, now we're gonna scale back to the point where like it would have been better, I think, for the Anthem community for them to actually release and update the current game rather than go do this Hail Mary overhaul. And like obviously they couldn't predict COVID, but it just pisses me off. Like it is frustrating because. And to be clear,
invested. Not just money, emotionally.
Yeah, I wanted Anthem to stand with like the rare like exception of these games that have turned themselves around. In my video, and I'll include a link in the description if you guys are curious about my thoughts. It's more kind of just a personal reflection. I talk about like in No Man's Sky, which I blanked on the name. I forgot the game. Final Fantasy XIV. There's just so few, and it would have been so awesome to have the kid in us win as opposed to the cynic in all of us. And I think essentially like, yeah, this just continues to feed everybody who is like cynical. Like, it's like, yeah. And not that your cynic side can't be bad. It can't be wrong. It can save your life. I'm very cynical that I can't stop a moving train. Like that's a good thing to kind of like, yeah, all right, this is probably not going to work out, Brian. But at the core of it, like, man, sometimes I was just, I really wanted, I have no regrets hoping that Anthem could have turned it around. I have no regrets of having that viewpoint. I have no regrets with the time I spent with the game. I have no regrets with the community and the gamers that we've kind of like gotten to know and I got to play Anthem with. And I have no regrets because the best news out of all of this is that there's other amazing games to play. Obviously, we talk about Final Fantasy XIV here a lot. Obviously, like another Square Enix game that I'm really excited about tomorrow, Outriders, their demo comes out. And I've seen a lot of comments like, oh, it looks like another Anthem. I'm hoping tomorrow kind of sets a whole new kind of approach where it's like you could see a clear contrast in Anthem versus Outriders. Don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Come hang out with me if you want.
You're getting a demo. I played the Anthem demo.
Yeah, well, it was
and you said the demo's fun. I said the demo's fun. You said I'm going to do it, and I was like, okay, I'm not convinced.
And that's and honestly, let's speak to that briefly because at the core, same kind of concept with like the Outriders demo. Like if the first 7 levels are fun, how about the other part of the game? Unfortunately, you'll have to purchase it, wait for some reviews, and more. So just let's always let this be a lesson. I stand proud that I remember playing the early part of the game and being like, guys, don't pre-order this game. And I remember getting just hate, so much hate. How could you? Anthem's the be all end all. I'm like, whoa. Like and if you've been here any amount of time with this channel, like I see the potential in things and I value that potential more so than I think that's one thing that differentiates me from like all the gamers who are just like, Brian, like they're not going to save Anthem. Like you're nuts. It's
you're
like,
also cautious now because you recommended Destiny 2 and then issued an apology.
That's true.
Because that was the one time that you let your optimism say,
we're in.
You can't lose. And then and then you came out and and I think that's where a lot of, as a commentary here, that's a lot of where us as adult gamers, as I was fondly called in a negative Reddit post on us, it said, as grown men fighting over silly games or something like that. It's like, we are grown men fighting over silly games. I like that. I don't, it wasn't meant as a compliment, but I'm delighted.
Anytime Reddit talks about us, I
am delighted special to have made it to being a grown adult that still gets to feel silly about something.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when people say games weren't as good as they were, it's moments like this that make us feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I hadn't been burned by empty promises from, not empty promises from an indie developer. It's not a guy and his brother, and the guy had a car payment that he got behind on, and so the game's going to be late. No. These are billion-dollar companies with $100 million budgets, with hundreds of employees. One of them getting the flu doesn't delay this game. Like, this is something that they're like, well, I mean, we've been just really busy. No, get it together. You have a marketing team, a marketing branch. You have hired a marketing firm. Like, these are terminologies. It's not Brian and I putting together a Flappy Bird. Like, get it together.
Speaking of which, no, special announcement, Flappy Bird Part 2. Gosh, that's so funny. I forgot. I had a thought. I had a really good thought based on what you just said, and I completely lost it with the whole Flappy Bird.
That bitterness. We're mad at empty promises.
And it's that where, okay, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
How do you get this optimistic next time?
I don't, not especially in relation to BioWare and EA. Like, they have to earn that back, right? Like, they have to, like, and it's, I don't want to sit here and deny anybody that ability to earn that back. Let's say Dragon Age, the next game, is amazing. Now, on the marketing and PR side, I bet you that if the next Dragon Age, which they already said was going to be a live service game, I bet you don't hear anything about games as a service or live service in its marketing at all, because that automatically is going to have red flags, because guess what? They killed Anthem. If they went and saved Anthem, I would say that if you get it wrong, at least you work to fix it, right? That's the beauty of the live service game. It's that, okay, we released this update and there's things that you like. Oh, it turns out there's things that you don't like. Okay, we're going to take that feedback and we're going to incorporate that. It becomes more of a conversation. You keep playing. We are going to listen to you. We're going to kind of, the game's going to evolve, and you can be a part of that evolution. That's something that as MMO players, and actually that's one of the videos that I sent you, that Lazy Peon just put out a really great video. We'll probably do a kind of a reaction response to that maybe next week for you guys, once Chris has had time to kind of sit down and listen to it. But that's essentially one of the, I think, the beauties of the MMO, and that's why I'm attracted to live service games. When people bemoan and like fear that the game is a service, I'm like, I've had great games as a service game experiences. I've had crappy ones too, but I've also had great ones. And I think that's where, if the next Dragon Age, whatever they're going to release next, is that games as a service model, like, that's where, like, you gotta prove to me, like, I need to be a Chris in this situation with the next Dragon Age if it's going that games as a service model, because I don't want to be in on day one. I want to be on day 100. Like, hey, they're still going on strong, and they've released updates every month, and they've proven they can hit the roadmap that they've set out. They've proven that they launched a game with the content to keep people invested and interested. That's
sometimes it works out to be a Brian, right? You have a tattoo in 14.
Yeah, I do.
And you have a discounted sub.
Yeah.
As a giant apology for taking advantage of your optimism.
But also looking at even 14 and seeing the potential that could be there. And that's where, like, even in 1.0, like, I saw the potential that the game had, and it just hadn't fulfilled that potential yet. And that's where...
But the downside of that optimism is you applied that same optimism to Anthem.
Yeah.
And so the downside, and so the problem is many of us end up in my camp. I was once as optimistic and bright and bushy-tailed as Brian, and I lost that. And I lost it through getting burned time and time again, and not having the trust that I could stand up and say, they're well-funded and they've done a great job. Everybody said Cyberpunk can do no wrong because this is CD Projekt Red. And I was like, okay, back up for a second and tell me that you invited your best friend to a party and they canceled on you 4 times. I get that they're your best friend. Not going to really bank on them showing up the 5th time. And so, like, when they said, hey, we're not moving the date again, I think not moving the date again was the accurate statement. And they're like, the game's coming out. Is it? a game is coming out, and then it ended up being that. And it ended up being the game still isn't out. They just couldn't afford to delay it anymore.
Yeah.
So really, the effectively full Cyberpunk still hasn't released. We're waiting for it to be in a fully delivered state, which is a common thing these days. So I'm not saying my way is better. My way is lonely. My way is not filled with the excitement and the hope, and I can only afford to apply it into the absolute surest of bets. Endwalker is something I was really excited about. Shadowlands was something I was willing to give the benefit of the doubt after pre-patch, because pre-patch was them showing their hand. Pre-patch, they gave us a new leveling system in WoW, and so that I felt strong enough about that I said, even if Shadowlands is an utter failure, this was a gift.
Yeah.
So until something is in my hands, I'm not convinced, and Anthem didn't do that.
Yeah. So guys, obviously to you, those who believed in Anthem, I'm sorry that it didn't work out for us. But the good news is that there's lots of really great games that we can play. We can still play together, and hopefully we can all find something that to believe in and to also kind of have that win. I think I would love to see this year to have that win. Right now, for me, that win's coming from Valheim. I've really been enjoying my time with that game. It's a fun surprise. It's been great as the community. We set up our own private server. If you guys are interested, you want to come hang out on our server, we got the information in Discord. Links are all in the description there. I'm excited for the demo tomorrow. I'm excited for some of the other games. I'm excited for New World. I'm excited for Endwalker. Like, there's a lot of really good things, and I want to sit here and put my energy and focus into those good things. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, the final thought I have is that at least the book is closed on Anthem. At least we can now officially say, yes, that's done. There's no, like, thread of hope, string of hope. And I always kind of still tie back into kind of a Final Fantasy reference. Final Fantasy VI, when they opened up the chest and all the monsters and evil, the Magi opened this chest and all the monsters and evil in the world, but a single light, a single thread remained, a thread of hope. I'm never going to give it up.
Good. I'm sorry to those of you that were let down, and I hope that there's something worth getting excited about.
Yeah.
I hope that there is a game around the corner that can be that next thing. It's a rough time for anybody that put their hope in that, and it's not about being right. It's crappy that people who did nothing wrong but believe that a game could be fun get burned by this.
Yeah. That's all I got.